All right, we are live. This is Coach Arnie. This is the Health, Love, Life, and Adventure Show. Thank you, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network with CC Schatz and all the wonderful shows she has on this #1 network for podcasts, TV, radio. And there's me. I'm Arnie, and we're going to talk about aspects of life that have to do with everything from great adventures to pain to whatever makes your life more in alignment with the actual life you want to live. That's the problem. We can't get in alignment, which is why we're in so much doggone pain all the time, spiritually and physically. So today we're going to talk about not dying in the nest. And you're probably wondering, what the heck does that mean? Or you're thinking, oh, I got this. I know what he's talking about. He's talking about people that live at home with mom and dad. Not really. But you could. But we're going to talk about different things when it comes to that topic, because if we become so comfortable in our environment, whatever that environment might be, because you could be 90 years old. Okay? Because I'm not going to compare a 90-year-old to a 5-year-old. Because a 5-year-old is supposed to be somewhat comfortable in an environment because they want to feel safe. But we all want to feel safe. But if a 90-year-old feels safe in an environment where he doesn't want to do anything or she doesn't want to do anything, that could end their life. A 5-year-old wants to feel safe so that they eventually will want to do things because human nature will encourage them to. The 90-year-old already knows this. So they're making a choice. They're making a choice not to move or become uncomfortable. That's the difference. So being uncomfortable means that you're starting a growth process. And I tell a lot of my older clients that they're not too old to learn things. They're not too old to get stronger. They're not too old to get better. I just had an 80-year-old that lost 20 pounds. Woo, woo, woo. Right? Most don't even care about stuff. So their doctor could tell them till they're blue in the face they're not going to do anything about it. But it made sense to him to lose the weight. He had to get a little uncomfortable. But he's used to being uncomfortable. So anytime that we're in an uncomfortable situation, and look, I'm not going to sit here and go, yeah, I love being uncomfortable. No, I don't. But I also know that being uncomfortable means something new is happening. Now, I have to also discern, is this something new harmful? Can it hurt me, or is it just enough pain to make me grow? See, there's a difference. There's that line. If we cross over the line, like heat training is good for you until you go over the line. Cold thermogenics is good for you until you stay in there too long. Fasting is good for you until you fast too long. Get it? So whatever I'm going through, whatever I'm learning, I'm not telling somebody to go through, you've all heard the chant, the beatings start at midnight. Now, I don't want you to go through a beating, but there are times when we need to get a little uncomfortable where we're at. So this also includes what I call fighting your ego. And I've gotten in trouble with this a lot in my life. The last time was probably 4 years ago at least. And my ego got the best of me in an adventure I was on. And my coach at the time told me, that's your ego, dude. That's exactly how he said it. He goes, you assumed responsibility for things that you were not responsible for. So sometimes what we have to do is, in this growth process, we have to silence, or we have to fight. Getting ahead of myself. We have to fight our ego, because our ego wants us to be comfortable. Our ego wants us to do what it feels is best to maintain safety. Protect this. Kind of, your ego wants to wrap you in a bubble and keep you comfortable. See? And that sometimes means you give in. You don't want to fight about it. It's going to give in. Blah, blah, I'll do it because you want me to. And that goes on and on and on and on and on until it doesn't. That's your ego. So we must realize that we must realize, and this is our brain talking to our ego that says, no, it's time to learn. No, it's time to go through this. I have to get through this valley to get to the next mountain. Where your ego might say, hey, just stay right here. It's pretty comfortable right here. We got everything you need right here. You got food, you got water. We're good. And sometimes we got to say, no, we got to go. And that's where, courage comes in. That takes courage. And we have to realize it's time to learn. I just had a great conversation with somebody who most here would consider very woo-woo. But a lot of what she said, it was funny. Because I listened to her. I had really practiced my listening skills. And I mentioned to her a book. And we've talked about it here before, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist, spent three different concentration camps during World War II. Came up with a whole psychiatric theory called logo theory based on what he saw people do, how they responded or reacted to what life did to them. And that's kind of what this is all about. In that, and we're going to talk about change here in a little bit, but we'll just throw this in. For many of us, our environment is like a big pile of, what? It has a certain odor to it. We know what it is. And it's kind of warm. And we kind of like to snuggle up to it. But it's ours. Someone else may go, man, that's not good. And you're like going, I know, but it's mine. It's my stuff. And unless we're willing to leave our stuff, you're going to stay in the pain, the physical pain, the emotional pain. You're going to stay in that job, that relationship. You're going to deal with that limp. You're going to deal with the extra weight or whatever you're dealing with because you've already justified that it's your stuff and you're okay with it. And I guess that's a dangerous place to be. Unless all you listen to is your ego. Which a lot of us do, don't we? We like to listen to our ego. So how do we deal with ego? Because that's that voice going off inside of us a lot. I mean, all day long for me. All day long. You didn't do that. You should have done this. Why don't you make that phone call? Why did you say that? You know, you're not good enough. That person's never going to love you. You're never going to do that. Why are you even trying? I mean, on and on and on and on and on and on. Or it might tell you to do things that you're not able to do. You're not ready to do. You haven't put the time in. You haven't worked towards it. It's constantly at work on you. And so we have to learn to get clear. What do you want? Get very clear. Get very focused. What do you want? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Who do you want to talk to? Who do you need to talk to? What do you need to do? What do you have to learn? See, once you get clear and that you have to learn something, get it? Now we can go back to our original thoughts about means you're going to start a growth process, because learning means growth. Then we have to get quiet. And when we get quiet, and then you have two competing voices going on. You've all seen the cartoons, right? With the devil and the angel. You can do it. No, you can't. You can do it. No, you can't, right? You know, the reason that things are funny normally is because they're based on something that's truthful. And so most of us hear that stuff going on all day long. So we got to get clear. Then we got to get quiet. We got to listen to that small voice. And then we have to use some discernment. Then we have to become aware. Is this something that makes sense? You know, last time my ego got me in trouble when I was on a trip with a young guy, 20 years or so younger than me. Fit, at least I thought. And we got to the North Rim of the Grand Canyon at midnight. We were at the North Rim. And he quit. He quit. I'm going, what are you talking about? Let's go. Come on. Buck up, dude. Gird your loins. Toughen up. Come on, young fella. Let's go. Keep up with the old man. But nope. At that point, I decided to save him. It was my job to save him. And it wasn't. He wasn't there on an adventure trip. He was there voluntarily. He wanted to go. Now, could it have ended tragically? Yes. Because after I found out the next level of craziness in that trip, he didn't even have any of his money with him. He was told to have money for a shuttle, so he didn't have any of that. He had no connections with the North Rim. Everything that I ended up providing for him. So part of that I assumed was not giving him enough information, but I did. I didn't, but I did. That again, ego, get it? I did, but I didn't. You didn't prepare him. You didn't coach him. It's not your job. It is your job. Get it? Bad trip. But we do it all the time. We do it at jobs. We do it in our relationships. We just do it because we don't get clear. We don't get quiet. We don't silence our ego. And the most important thing, we're not even aware of what's going on. We're like a ping pong ball. And as Viktor Frankl would say, we just react instead of respond appropriately. Because we don't think. Because when our brain is going 90 miles an hour, it's like, chaos. Chaos. So, what's the point of all this? What's the point of all this related to don't die in the nest? Well, the point of it is that I'm going to walk you through a couple scenarios here. One of them is going to be a story I love animal stories. A few weeks ago, I shared with you guys my story of the bison and what they teach us about, especially about pain and how to turn into a storm and hopefully shorten the intensity of the pain by, pull the Band-Aid off, go, instead of allowing life to continue to beat you up. Well, today I'm going to share with you the story of an eagle, and you'll hear different things on different websites, and everybody's an expert, but it's a good story, and it's based on enough facts that when the experts argue about it, you're at least in the right zone. And but it is about leaving the nest. And the neat thing about animals, guys and ladies, is yes, they're animals. I mean, technically, they don't have a soul. So most of their stuff is based on instinct and reaction. But sometimes that instinct is based on really solid evidence that something just works. And a lot of the things that we do in life is based on reaction to what makes us feel good, feel comfortable, feel fear. Because most of us are trying to avoid fear and chase after pain. But I'm amazed by how many people end up literally embracing fear and avoiding pleasure. That literally drives me crazy. When you know something makes you feel good, you avoid it. Like movement. I teach people movement patterns to avoid pain. Why? Because it works. If I can help you to get aligned with the life you want to live, I know you're going to feel better. But how many people do that on a regular basis? Do you know that, and it's probably worse since COVID started, but before COVID started, the statistics showed in America, less than 50% of the people moved. I'm not talking moving from your house, to another house. I'm talking about moving your body. 50. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's true. And if you think it's more now after COVID, you are smoking something. It's far worse. Because we were never presented any information that did any good for you. So most people's minds go, well, there's no evidence here, and they can't use themselves because they don't move. Might as well listen to the experts, right? Yeah. So the idea here is, especially when I run into certain animals like the bison, is to show you a story based on some facts that will help you to better understand your behavior pattern. So today we're going to talk about an eagle. An eagle, okay? We've all heard of eagles, right? Eagles don't fly with a bunch of other birds. They kind of go solo, if you know what I mean. And they're pretty majestic. Actually, the bald eagle is our national symbol, right? Makes sense. Independent, majestic, powerful. And they have chicks. They put eggs in a nest. I don't know, 2-3 eggs. Big nest. You ever seen an eagle's nest? They're pretty big. There's actually one a couple years ago on they had a videotape of this thing. Weird. Camera up there and on the cliff. Pretty interesting. And there's different kind of eagles. Okay? They're similar and they're not. They're similar. So an eagle makes a nest like any other bird. Pads it up real nice with feathers and all kind of, twigs for a nice base, and then feathers, and then other things to really give it a nice soft texture, because they don't want to break the egg, right? You want to keep it solid. So, hang on a second. Oh, I got you. Okay. They want to keep it solid. So the egg hatches, and then the mama eagle takes care of the chicks. Got to feed them, protect them. You know, if it storms, you got to, you know, cover them up. And the chicks love that, right? They're hunkering down, staying close to mama because mama's pretty cool. And then one day, mama, and this is where the stories become kind of mythical or legendary. Regardless, it's based on enough fact. But mama comes over the birds because mama eagles in general have an ability like a hummingbird to kind of hover. I mean, you can see eagles out in the wild. You see them flying, hawks, eagles. They glide. It's beautiful. So they have this ability to stretch their wings out and just kind of hover. And so mama eagle demonstrates to the little chicks every once in a while what those things on their backs are for. They stick them out. And over time, the little birds like to figure that thing out. And then over time, mama eagle will come up to the little chicks once in a while and kind of nudge them up out of the nest on the ledge and kind of push them over. And as the little eaglet is floating down, not having a clue what to do, mama eagle can swoop underneath and kind of catch it and hover with it and bring it back, put it back in the nest. And they're going, what in the heck are you doing? You're trying to kill me. You're supposed to be my mom. So then they're back comfortable in their own little nest there with mama, right? And she'll do that a couple, 3 times or more in the process. But also, as the chick gets a little older and a little stronger, mama eagle will eventually go into the nest and start pulling things out of the nest. Because, you know, the nest is made out of very sturdy sticks and all that good stuff because it's an eagle. And then it's got all the padding, like I said, and I'll just start pulling that stuff out. So pretty soon, the chicks are sitting on sticks. Well, that's not cool if you're a chick, kind of getting poked, not feeling good. And in the meantime, mama on a regular basis is kind of tossing them out and kind of catching them until one day the chick figures out what those things on its back do. And it does start to fly. Now, that is like those movies. That is based on fact. I'm not saying all of it is, but you know what? It works. Because those eagles learn how to fly. Okay? And everything else I said about an eagle happens. I can't always say that about human beings. I can't always say that about human beings. I want everybody to hold that thought, and we're going to be right back. All right, we are back and we're talking about eagles, and now we're talking about people. Because the problem with people is we have this thing called a brain, as does an eagle, but we also have an ego. We like to be comfortable. And when an eagle chick is ready to hit the road, there's not a discussion about it. But when a human being is ready to hit the road, there's a big discussion about it. And if your parents haven't done a good job, then there might be a lot of fear and trepidation about whether or not you can make it or not. And then there's guilt and all other emotions that start to work into this thing. And in time, human beings will literally die in the nest. Mostly from fear. So I've actually talked to individuals that they were convinced, young people were convinced that their role was to take care of their parents. And if you talk to their parents, their role was to protect their kids. So you had the completely opposite views, but they intersected in that they had to take care of each other. And it was very, what's the word here? Oh, it'll come to me. It just wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy. And many times it's not. On both sides of that. On both sides of that. Okay. And so when one side doesn't want to make the nest uncomfortable and the other side feels that they're not ready and will fight against it, then that's a formula for disaster. When the other side doesn't feel it's ready, and the parental side wants to make it uncomfortable, then we have many times guilt. And believe me, I've done this. My youngest was the only one that technically didn't come home after they left the nest. But it happened in a good way because her and I communicate pretty well. And because I wanted her to struggle, and she figured it out. And it made her a better person because of that. Made her a better person. And but believe me, it was hard. But remember, hard choices make for an easy life. Because if we always made it easy, I know when I left the nest, I was ready to leave the nest. But this is not just about home. It's also about a job. How many of you have stayed in a job because it was comfortable and you had a paycheck because you had a family at home, or you wanted to pay your apartment or your car or have your beer money, and you stuck with a job? And it was hurtful to you, and you weren't giving it your best anyways. So it was a lose-lose, but fear was keeping you in the job, and you weren't growing because you weren't learning anything new. Same can be said about a relationship that's hurtful, harmful. Neither party's growing, and it's usually out of guilt and fear. Certainly not pleasure. I don't know about you, but hurting other people doesn't make me feel good. I told somebody yesterday, it goes, if you know that somebody purposely gets up in the morning and wants to stick a pin in your voodoo doll, get out of that relationship. If you truly believe they're purposely trying to harm you, what are you doing? those sticks are coming out of that nest and poking you real good. Getting a clue? Now, if you were a baby eagle chick, you'd jump out of that nest. But nope, we're human beings with egos and brains, and we just sit there and get poked. It's like the hound dog on the porch. You walk up, the dog's always howling. Woo! Finally, one day, somebody says, "Why is your dog always howling?" "Oh, he's just laying on a nail." "What? He's laying on a nail? Well, why doesn't he get off the doggone nail?" "It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt enough." It's not uncomfortable enough. Have you ever heard that one? I bet you have. I have. And I've been there. I've been there in many different ways. I'll give you a way in my business. When you hire people that you know are the wrong people for your job, for your company, and for your comfort or the comfort of others, you don't let them go. And so what happens? They hurt your whole company. Because you weren't willing to go through what I call 36 hours of pain. The pain of letting something go hurts a lot for about a day and a half, maybe 2 days. After that, it's on you. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt. It hurts. Hurts. So, what are we going to do about all this stuff? What are we going to do about not dying in the nest? Unless it's what you want to do. Look, the difference between, again, let me refresh your brain again one more time. The difference between a human being and an eagle is ego. Your ego is trying to keep you in the nest. The eagle doesn't get a chance. It goes. See ya. Just like that. So what I want to do right now is I want to take a couple minutes and kind of refresh your brain about the whole process of change. Because for some people, change is a monster. It's the thing that keeps you in the nest. And what happens in pain, guys, is that, remember we talked about that big glob of poop that we're all hanging around? Because it's ours? Well, that's what we do. I call it a safe harbor, a safe place. And there we are in our safe place. Nice and stinky and warm. Because for most of us, I'm dealing with somebody right now, I love her to death. She's related to a client of mine. And I've reached out a couple times to help. But they're so comfortable in their stuff right now. And I like to push and poke. I'm the sticks in the nest. And eventually I'll get them if I'm persistent enough, which I'm trying to. But until there's some kind of an event, it's almost like an atomic explosion. We don't move. Most of us don't have a mama eagle flying around shoving us out of our stuff. So we just hang around. And sometimes we hang around so long it becomes almost impossible to move. But if we're blessed enough for something to happen, something that goes off inside of us, because it has to come from within, because we have to be willing to want to do it. Unless something happens like that, there's a good chance nothing's going to happen. And you've all heard this. You're stuck. You're stuck. And you might be the person that ends up, taking medication, drugs, alcohol, food, whatever it might be, to get you temporarily unstuck, because you're going to come right back to it as soon as all that wears off. But let's say you do get that explosion in your life. Somebody says, that's it, I've had enough. I'm done. I'm going to rehab. I'm going to get out of this relationship. I'm going to lose the weight. I'm going to get a new job. I'm going to leave this relationship. I'm going to join a gym. Whatever. Then you enter chaos. Oh, man. And you go, oh, my God. No wonder I wanted to stay in my mess. This chaos stuff sucks. It really hurts. But see, now you're the bison. You just turned into the storm. Just lean into it a little bit longer. And it's going to be over. But you got to lean into it because it takes a few weeks. Usually. Just a few weeks. Out of 90 years. And you can make some changes. But you got to lean into it. You got to walk through it. You got to deal with it. You didn't get a choice. You didn't get thrown out of the nest. Mama's not going to come underneath you and scoop you up. So you're not even going to take a chance. But now you're flying through the air. You are over the cliff. And you're getting banged around on the cliff. You're getting singed up real good. But guess what? At some point, you're going to undo the parachute. You just didn't know it was there. And it's going to open up. And when that parachute opens up, now you're going to start to be able to do the things that you know you should do. The new things that you're learning. The things you learned you didn't want to do in the relationship. The new class you're taking. The skills you're learning. The exercises you're learning. The new foods to eat. The friends you need to get rid of. And the new friends you're talking to. You start to incorporate all that stuff into your life because now you're floating. The fall is over. The chaos is over. You are now floating. And you're learning because you've slowed things down. Have you ever heard that saying about the great athletes, the Michael Jordans? And you ever talk to them about their game? And one thing they'll tell you, whether it's a baseball player, a football player, basketball player, whatever, hockey, the game gets slow. Whereas for the average guy or girl or lady, the game speeds up. It's too fast. They can't do it. I'm out of here. Too much chaos. But the people that have stayed in it long enough and learned and have increased their skill levels, the game slows down. So when you've gone through the chaos, the parachute opens up, you're floating to the ground, your life slows down. You can start learning the new things that you're supposed to learn and start putting them into your life where they belong. And then once you land, the things you learn become automatic, and they do. But this process takes, you can Google it. Google change. I think it says around 66 days. I call it 90 days. It's physiological, biological, whatever you want to call it. It's just real. But it never goes anywhere if you don't ever start. The eagle never learns to fly if it never gets tossed out of the nest. And all those people that are talking about the eagle's nest, and that's true, that's not true, this I know. That little eagle is not going to just jump out of that nest. Mama knows it has to nudge it out. And if you're a parent, you know what you have to do. And if you're not a parent, you already know what happened to you. And you may not be in it right now. You may be in it. That's what I mean. You still may be living in a comfortable situation that you know is not right for you. And if that's the case, then you need to have a heart-to-heart with yourself and figure out what's going to launch you out of that thing. And that thing may be pain, may be relationship related, maybe whatever it is. It's your pain. It's your pile. Am I making myself clear? Your pile. And when you're dealing with your pile, there's a better chance that you might do something about it. If you're deep enough in the pain cave. If you're not, it's not going to matter. You won't do it. If you are, then you have a chance to jump off that cliff and pull that parachute. But you'll never throw the parachute open if you never take a shot to figure out what is going to get you out of that nest. And that's, don't be that person that dies in the nest. Okay? Don't be the person that dies in the nest. That's all I want to say. All right, guys. This is Coach Arnie. I love you. And I'll see you next time. I'll talk to you later.